Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a good day today. Hope the weather's cooperating where you are, and hope you can deal with whatever's out there. Because let's face it, do you? All right, we're going to talk about a subject today, and the title of the lesson is "Let God Control You." You know, as we travel through life, we sometimes take a few moments to try and figure things out, like who's in charge and what authority do they have. You know, in personal matters, we usually like to think that we are in charge. Well, while we may not be able to control the events around us, we usually try to keep a level head and work things out on our own. And so sometimes we find we need to ask for assistance. And most people would probably say that they are in control of their life, but they would be wrong. So let's move on. As long as we are trying to control our life, we are not doing the right thing. I mean, it is God who should be in control of your life. And some of us realize, most of you who listen to these messages, you probably have this figured out already. A lot of people in the world do not. And so we need to guide them and help them learn these things. Now, while the word control is not found in the King James Version of the Bible, it is used in some of the more modern versions. But the idea that we should let God control us is found in words like guide, lead, direct, influence, and really we could use other words there if we want to use that biblical concept. And perhaps we would use the phrase, we might ask a question, who's in charge? Well, which is another way of asking, who's in control? I mean, that's what it comes down to. And so, even in tense, chaotic situations, some people have been trained to take control, take charge, and to lead and direct other people to achieve the best possible results. And so, I mean, no matter what the situation, somebody is appointed to be in charge. And sadly, many people do not do enough reflection and pondering to figure this out. We go to the doctor because we have an illness we cannot control. The doctor gives us medicine and hopefully we feel better. And guess what? We just left God out of the picture. And we do that so often in so many avenues of our life. We leave God out of the picture. And see, we have to realize bodies are frail and really began to die when we were born. And we are going to experience pain and hurt during our life. And where we need to be realizing that God is in control of our life and we should give it over to Him. Let Him direct it. See, we leave things to the providence and mercy of God, and all of a sudden, we have a better outlook on life. And you'll find that's true. Some people dealing with cancer or other ailments, they say, well, God, you're in control. I'm going to turn my life over to you. And guess what? All of a sudden they start feeling better because we've taken that burden and put it upon God like we're. Now, some people suffer depression and other mental illnesses. And until they realize that their body and their life is in God's hand and under His care, the healing process will not likely begin. We all need the healing that God provides, not only in our physical healing, but our spiritual healing as well. And we do play an important role in this healing process. We have to basically do that. We have to work with God because He will not do it all. And here's something a lot of people fail to realize. God's not going to do it all. He expects you to do some of it. See, Paul wrote that some of his brethren were fellow workers with God. He mentioned that. They're fellow workers with God. And so we have joined God in doing His work. And God expects us to try to do things that will benefit not only our bodies, but our soul as well. And when it comes down to His work, we've got to participate in that. We just don't say, okay, God, bring us souls. No, we've got to go out and find those. What He tells us. See, we can assist God by learning His will, and we do this by studying the Bible and putting God's ways into practice into our individual lives and then being able to teach others what they need to do to turn their life over to God. And so our faith is made stronger when we apply ourselves to doing His will. And of course, by learning to cast our cares upon Him. 1 Peter 5:7 tells us that. Cast your cares upon Him because He cares for you. And we must all come to the realization that our life is not our own. No, our life is not our own. We belong to the Lord. Romans 14:7-8 says that whether we live, whether we die, we belong to the Lord. And of course, we are all subject to His laws. Whether you're a Christian or a non-Christian, you're still subject to God's laws. And whether you claim to be an atheist or agnostic or Buddhist or Islamic or whatever, we're still subject to God's laws. And we will all stand before God in judgment and face the judgment of our lives. Now, we all need to face the fact that we are in God's hands all the time. And sometimes we don't think about it that way. Like I said, we like to control ourselves. We like to think we're in charge of what's going on. But we don't do that. Even Ecclesiastes, I think it's 9:15, talks about the race is not to the swift or to the strongest, but time and chance happen to all. We're all heading towards the grave. Some of us get there a lot quicker than others, and some linger on in a broken down body. Some people, even at a young age, they die of a heart attack or auto accident or something else. And so, whether we're facing a deadly disease or just the nagging aches of old age, we need to realize that God's will needs to be done. And if we concentrate on doing God's will, guess what? He's going to take care of us. And so remember that Jesus prayed that His burden be lifted from Him. But in the end, Jesus still said to God, not my will, but thy will be done. And that's the attitude we all need. We need to understand this. Too many times we're selfish and we want things to go our way. But really what it comes down to is, okay, God, your will needs to be done. So let me help you do your will. Now, we can do everything right and still have to face serious illness and severe depression and spiritual immaturity. We can be living right and a tornado comes along and kills us. We could be in an auto accident. We could be going to do the Lord's work and be in an auto accident. And that's happened to the saints for many years. And so, but when we hand our life over to God and telling Him that you place yourself into His loving care, a burden is lifted off your soul that should motivate you to do even more for the Lord. I'm reminded of the passage in Psalm 32 where it says, when I tried to hide my sins, my body wasted away. It was like this great big burden. But when I confessed my sins, that burden was lifted. And so that's very similar to the same idea here. When you're getting to that point where you don't know what's going to happen, you might die. Guess what? I'm in God's hands. That's how we need to look at it. I place my hands in your hands, God. I place my life in your hands. So use me as you will. And once we do that, our outlook on life changes. And it really does motivate us to do even more for the Lord. So look around and you will see the most faithful of God have already given their lives to Him. And they're a good example that you need to follow. And they're there to be that good example. They let their light shine, whether they're in church or whether they're out in the community. And you need to learn from that. And so we just ask the question, will you turn the controls over to God? In Proverbs 3 and verse 6 says, in all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight. When we turn our life over to God and give Him the control of our life, let Him direct our steps, then it's going to be better for us. So consider those thoughts. That's our lesson for today. Very simple lesson, but still, you just have to realize you've got to let God control you. Let him direct your steps. Let him guide you, and your life is going to be a whole lot better. That's just a guarantee that comes from God, and we realize that. So consider these thoughts. Lord willing, be back again tomorrow with another lesson. And you have a good day now. Do something for the Lord. Realize control of your life, and you should let him. That's the main point. Let God control you. And guess what? Your life will be a whole lot better. Okay, that's it for now. You have a good day. Bye-bye for now.